Hello everybody, welcome to How to Mix Lo-Fi. Alright? Today we're gonna mix a track that is, hence the title of this video, Lo-Fi. Alright? The purpose of this video is to show you guys how to mix this genre, which is, I don't know the real history of this genre, but as far as I know, from what I can tell, it's one of the this genre's intention is to make something sound like it's basically it sounds like it's recorded in the, I don't know what year exactly, but it's not definitely in the year, like what, it's way before 80s, like maybe around 60s if I'm not mistaken. You know what I'm saying? And it's one of those genres that I love listening to if I want to chill or something like that. So yeah, today's video is gonna be mixed. Has been mixed by me, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through this whole thing, all right, the whole mixer track, and hopefully every single automation, if I even have any. I don't think I have any automations here, but anyway. Hopefully that we'll be able to finish this in one go, in one episode, alright? And we'll be able to move on to the next video and share with you guys the new, actually another tutorial, so that you guys will be able to devour that next tutorial after this, But for now, we are going to be focusing on this lo-fi music that we have just mixed. Alright, so let me give you a snippet of it on how it sounds like, basically. Let's see if we can get a section where you can hear every single instrument, and actually let's put it here. Here we go.
To bring together, to yoke together, right? And if you think about your breathing and just how the breathing is arising and a falling, the breathing is yoga. So really what the practice is ultimately designed to do is not so much change you, but remind you of your inherent perfection.
Alright, so that's how this music sounds like. Alright, it's a chill music and chill lo-fi music, and what I'm about to do is I'm going to go through every single track, including the master bus, all in one go. And so let's get started. As usual, you have your usual VU meter just to reach the sweet spot of negative 18 decibels. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on that, so we'll be able to move on and get to the more important stuff. Alright, now we're gonna be going at the fruity fast distortion. This time what we did is analog console preset, except what I did is I turned up the mix to 25%. So that's the only thing that I've moved. Same settings on pretty much everything else except for the mix knob. It's now 25%. Alright, what this does is it makes sure that your your whole mix will be a little bit more distorted. And as you may have already known, if you distort something, it will be sounding a little more compressed, so it'll have less dynamic range and it'll be more consistent, a little bit more. And how consistent and how less of a dynamic range, it depends on how much and most primarily how much distortion you get. It just depends on how much you crank this mix knob. Alright, So we have it at 25%, and that's it, you know. Actually, let me go and show you what it sounds like with this distortion and without this distortion. Alright, so to me, to my system, it sounds a little bit more it sounds a little bit fuller, you know, and a little it sounds a little bit more compressed, you know, just a little bit more. And the reason why we're just doing it subtly on this master bus is because you're affecting the entire system, you know. So that's basically it, you know. Moving on, we're gonna go ahead and proceed to the EQ. What I've done is I've gone ahead and grabbed a high pass filter at 32 hertz, which the Q factor is also set at 24 decibels per octave. The purpose of this is I didn't really want too much of the 32 hertz to interfere with something around 60, you know, so that you will have a fuller kick and you know, and your bass and everything that requires to have low end, you know, without this 30 hertz being, you know, a nuisance. Or I wouldn't say a nuisance, but it should, like, what this does is it prevents your sub frequencies, you know, anything below 30, anything below this line basically, to be, so it won't take up too much space, and it would take space from 60 hertz, you know, 120 hertz, you know what I'm saying, things like that. It won't take too much space, so it'll kind of make the bass or the low end sound more what do you call that, I wouldn't say rounder, but it's more like it just leaves more headroom for the 60 hertz. Then it will be tighter, you know, your low end would be tighter, you know. And that's pretty much it, you know. I didn't have to grab another token and put a low shelf right here like this. No, I didn't need that, you know. We already have enough low end for that. So that's why this is all I feel like it needs, you know. And also right here at band 6 token, I've gone ahead and cut this high shelf right here at around 4000 hertz, Q factor of 0.8, and the gain is at -6. You know, I want you to pay attention to these 3 settings right here, and that's pretty much it, you know. Like, let me show you what this does to the whole mix, you know. Turn on and turn off. Let's turn it on, then let's turn it off. Alright? In lo-fi music, to me, the most important thing to your lo-fi music is this cut right here. Alright? Because without this cut, it's not a lo-fi music. Alright? In this case, all we needed is 6 decibels, and we will get that desired lo-fi sound. Just like our reference tracks, you know. Like, let me go ahead and go to Spotify and show you what I have used for reference. You know, it's basically this, you know, this album right here. You know, I'm not gonna play it over here because I might be copyrighted by YouTube and all of that. I don't want to deal with that. So if you guys want to know which one I've used for reference, it's actually, in fact, let me show you what it was. I think it was this, bro. So it was this jazz soul beat. All right, I used that as reference. In fact, I used these two, you know. I basically got a mix between these two reference tracks. Alright, so you all have seen the importance of this cut, and let me go check if we have any other things that I might have missed. And yep, there we go. Moving on. Our very first compressor on the master bus is this one right here. At 2 decibels, alright, the threshold is at negative 7.6 decibels, and the ratio is at 20:1, the lowest attack, and 100 ms release. Alright, what this does is, this is a very subtle effect. What this does is, if it catches peaks, I wanted my peaks to be more even, so that when they cross this threshold, they won't go above it, and then they will be, what is this? They will be makeup gain by, what is this, 2 decibels, and then you will have something that would sound a little more consistent before it hits this compressor. So pretty much there you have it, and it's something that you definitely should take a look at, and it's really something that would help the entire mix to be a little more consistent, and it'll be a little more, what do you call that, I'm not gonna say glued, but it's more like you're controlling the amount of peaks that crosses this threshold, and then you're actually trying to, what is it, you're trying to make it, you're trying to even it out with more peaks to hit that threshold, so that when it hits this compressor will be more consistent at compressing those tracks, like, because this compressor is responsible for your transients, and this compressor right here, which goes before this compressor, is responsible for the consistency of your tracks, while it also deals with the transients. So you kind of want to put it back with this, you know what I'm saying. So that's what I did. I hope I haven't missed anything here. If I missed anything, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll send you the settings and let you know what it is. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to our bus compressor. The thing is, as you may have already known, this one here is responsible for your transients to still go through, and you'll still be able to glue the entire mix, and what this does is, it does, I believe, 4 decibels of gain reduction, and I'll show you what it does, and I'll here are the settings. The threshold is set to 6.3 decibels, and makeup gain is at 2 decibels, 30 ms attack time, 100 ms release, and the ratio is at 10:1. And the thing that you guys need to know, and you shouldn't forget, is that the fact that this compressor right here is it kind of emulates the real thing, but I'm not really sure if it gets close to that. But I'll show it to you regardless how it sounds like, with or without the compressor. Alright, here it is without these two compressors. Alright, let me show you. So that's the difference that it makes, just with these two plugins right here. Alright, it glues the entire mix, so some parts that are quiet will be louder, and some parts that are louder will be quiet. So there you have it. And as you may have noticed, yes, I am doing 4 decibels of gain reduction on the master bus. Alright, I'm pretty sure you guys will tell me that you should only be doing 2 on the master bus. Yes, but what I want for this mix is to feel like it's being pumped. So that's why I'm doing 4 decibels of gain reduction. Alright, I want it to sound a little bit more pumped. Anyway, this is just a volume plugin. I set it to 0.5 decibels as an additional, just so we're reaching our RMS levels on this span. What is this? Span plugin, and you guys already know what this does, and it's just so we would reach, I think it's negative 15 decibels of RMS, more or less, give it a plus or minus. All right, and that's pretty much it, and moving on towards our vocals. This vocals right here is responsible for the speech. Actually, let me show you how it sounds like.
One of the oldest forms of meditation, probably the oldest form, is observing the movement of your breath. When you observe the movement of your breath, and this happens so quickly you might miss it, but when you do observe the movement of the breath, the internal dialogue receives.
Alright, that's what these vocals are doing, and I'm gonna show you this first EQ, what we have done. So basically at 1500 Hertz with a Q factor of 0.4, and then I soloed it, so that the EQ curve will only be like this. You won't hear much from the lower registers, you won't hear much from the higher registers. Alright, what this does is it gives you that telephone effect. Alright, let me show you by muting this and by unmuting it. Alright, without the mute.
One of the oldest forms of meditation, probably the oldest form, is observing the movement of your breath. When you observe the movement of your breath, and this happens so quickly you might miss it.
Alright, in fact, let me show you in the context of the mix, the entire mix, with or without this EQ. Alright.
One of the oldest forms of meditation, probably the oldest form, is observing the movement of your breath. When you observe the movement of your breath, and this happens so quickly you might miss it, but when you do observe the movement of the breath, the internal dialogue recedes to the background a little bit, and you get that sense of peace.
Alright, it gives that a little bit of a more lo-fi vibe to it. It kind of warms it up a little bit, but not really to the point where it's too dark. You know what I'm saying? Because I think it's too dark, when you don't have this telephone effect. Alright, moving on, and we have this first compressor. I think, in fact, what we're doing is with these 2 compressors is that we want this compressor to be more, a little bit more consistent on the dynamic side. So, as all compressors do, the settings of this threshold is at negative 20 decibels, with the ratio is at 20:1. Alright, you all know my release times: 100 ms, fastest attack, and 4 decibels of makeup gain. Yep, pretty much the same threshold, with the ratio is at 20:1, and you all know why I'm doing this. I'm stacking these two. I'm doing stacking serial compressors. It's just that I really don't want my release to be too quick, because I really don't want to have a distortion coming from my compressors unless if I intended it to. But in this case, I don't intend it to. So if I wanted to distort it, I would just grab this fast distortion. But in this case, I really wanted my vocals to be a little bit more, and when I say vocals, it's the speech. I wanted it to be a little more consistent. Alright, and this is what this does. In fact, let me solo it for you.
One of the oldest forms of meditation, probably the oldest form, is observing the movement of your breath. When you observe the movement of your breath, and this happens so quickly you might miss it, but when you do observe the movement of the breath, the internal dialogue recedes to the background a little bit, and you get that sense of peace.
All right.
One of the oldest forms of meditation, probably the oldest form, is observing the movement of your breath. When you observe the movement of your breath, and this happens so quickly you might miss it, but when you do observe the movement of the breath, the internal dialogue recedes to the background a little.
All right. Now that I'm thinking, I probably should have just grabbed one, but there you have it. I have two of them, so that's what it's doing. You know, that's the purpose of this, is to have a little bit more consistent dynamics. Although I understand that it kind of sounds a little more consistent. Just to make sure that it is very consistent, I added these two compressors, which is, you know, now you can hear the chatter in the background. All right. And moving on, we have our distortion for the vocals, and its mix is only at 25%, and I've selected B. I'll show you how it sounds like.
One of the oldest forms of meditation, probably the oldest form, is observing the movement of your breath. When you observe the movement of your breath, and this happens so quickly you might miss it.
All right, the reason for that second setting is just so you'll have the, what do you call that, the crackle of it in your voice. It adds to that lo-fi effect, you know. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, that's real simple things that would add up to the entire mix. If you put it all together, it's gonna sound a little more lo-fi, just even if it's just on its own. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, let's move on. With this one here, I think this is your snare. What I've done is I've gone ahead and boosted 291 hertz at 9 decibels, you know, Q factor of 1, dude. Let me show you how it sounds like with this EQ. Let me get to the section where you'll hear it. Without. Alright. The purpose of this is to thicken the snare, you know, a little more. You know, let me show you again. All right, and that still adds to the lo-fi effect for the overall music, and therefore it'll be something that you would what do you call that? It'll be something that you need to have so that your music will sound a little more lo-fi. You know, in my opinion, I didn't want the snare to be too thin, so I have this boost right there. All right, let me show you in the context of the mix how it sounds with this EQ and without first.
Happens so quickly you might miss it, but when you do observe the movement of the breath, the internal dialogue recedes to the background a little bit.
With?
Happens so quickly you might miss it, but when you do observe the movement of the breath, the internal dialogue recedes to the background a little bit, and you get that sense of peace.
Alright, gives that a little more bottom end, you know. And some of you all might not even think about boosting this, since you have a snare that, you know, sounds like a clap, and you might not think that it has a low end, but the truth is it has this low mid, you know, that you can exploit so that it will sound a little more thick. You know, it's not just this high end frequencies, but it's actually this low end, you know. And yeah, that's things like this would make you a better mixer, and you'll be able to pinpoint more of what you can do to make a sound darker or to make a sound brighter. In this case, we're trying to make the sound a little darker, and so that's why we grabbed this frequency right here and boosted 9 decibels. Alright, moving on. And I'll let you guys know what my volume settings are later, but what I also did is, before I forget, is also set this to 50% merged when it comes to the stereo separation. All right, I didn't want my snare to be too stereo, so that's why I've gone ahead and grabbed this stereo separation knob and set it to 50% right here. It's set to 50%. All right, moving on. And I actually, yeah, let me show you how it sounds like without the mono setting. All right. All right, with the mono. All right, I didn't want it to be on the sides as well. I want it to be a little bit more towards the middle, but I kind of want to keep 50% of it on the sides as well. So that's why I've done this setting. All right, moving on to the kick right here. And where's that kick? Let me show you how it sounds like solo. Alright, sounds very mono. And what I've done is I've boosted 2K at 6 decibels at the Q factor of 1. The purpose of this boost is to give your kick a little more telephone effect sound, like the ones that we've done on the vocals before, except it's not in 1500, and we only have it at the Q factor of 1, and so that it'll sound a little bit more telephony, just a little bit, by 6 decibels. Let me show you how it sounds like with this setting and without. Right, it kind of opens it up a little bit, but it's not really it's a very subtle effect, I would say so. And it just kind of gives the kick a little more telephone effect, just a little bit, and that's pretty much it, and let's move on with the hi-hat, and later on I'll demonstrate with you guys how it sounds like without the plugins and how it sounds like with the plugins. All right, so actually no, I'm just gonna show you the volume, and I'm just gonna show you how it sounds like with. Actually, yeah, I'm just gonna demonstrate it to you guys. Sorry about that. Let's move on to the hi-hat, and I think where's that? Let's see if we can actually get to the hi-hat, how it sounds like. Not sure what that sound is, but with this one here, the purpose is to have it a little more consistent. So with the settings, 4 decibels of makeup gain, threshold is at negative 18 decibels, and highest ratio 20:1, 100 ms release. Attack is the fastest, and the reason why I have all of these settings is this is what works for me, and this is what I think is necessary for this track. So nothing too fancy, I'll show you how it sounds like without. I'll show you with. Alright, it just becomes a little more consistent. Alright, and that's pretty much it. So with a lo-fi splash, I didn't do anything with it. I just set the volume to 2 decibels. I gave it extra 2 decibels, so that's pretty much it. With my bongo, I've only gone ahead and grabbed a trim plugin and set it to 1 decibel, and that's pretty much it. And I've also set this fader control to, I think that's 5.6 decibels, That's pretty much it, Let me show you how it sounds like. Alright, we just changed the volume, and later on I'll show you what the volume settings are on this one as well, so that you guys will get when you get to mix it. And I'm talking to you, Jace, when you mix it, you'll have the, you'll have the accurate mix, exactly as how I've done it. All right, so I'll say that later, and let's go ahead and talk about this bell hollow. And let me see if I can show you where it is. Okay, here it is. Alright, that's how it sounds like. And I've gone ahead and grabbed the delay, and let me show you the settings here. Input panning is at 50%, and this is the wet volume, it's at 60% level, and our feedback level is lowest. Highest cutoff and ping pong setting with the time is at 2. And I didn't really match the tempo here, so my tempo settings is at 140 beats per minute. So, and I set it to 2. So it's actually the it's a slapback delay, except with the mismatched tempo. So that's why it kind of sounds like odd and all of that. My time stereo offset is at 500 ms to the left, and what this does, it produces that effect that it goes from left to right because of the ping pong and because of this stereo offset. Alright, dry level is at 80%, and I'll show you how it sounds like without the delay. With the delay, alright, produces that cool effect. Alright, and I also gone ahead and grabbed a distortion. As you all might have noticed that it's full of distortion, and what the purpose of this distortion is to make it sound a little more lo-fi. It adds that B setting right here, it adds a little more crackle. So let me show you how it sounds like without the distortion. Alright, makes it louder and it adds more crackle to it with the distortion. Alright, and what I did is I put it to the maximum so that it'll generate maximum amounts of crackle, and the mix level is at 100%, and that's the only settings that I've touched. It's the mix and this distortion type. Alright, moving on. I've gone ahead and grabbed another EQ, which we made another cut at 4K, Q factor of 0.8 and negative 6 decibels. With this one here, it's that what this does is it makes it so that it'll sound a little more lo-fi. Besides this distortion, and the one that we got from the master bus, as you may have all remembered. And with this one here, this is also something that you guys might want to pay attention to, is how much dip you guys put in your recordings, or how much cut, and it just depends on your tastes. Alright, let me show you how it sounds like without this EQ. Alright, you can hear the highs clearer. I don't want that because we are trying to mix a lo-fi track. So let's put back the EQ. Alright, it sounds a little more darker because we've added negative 6 decibels. Alright, so then moving on, we have our staccato bass. Fruity Fast distortion is at distortion setting is at B, and our mix level is at 25%. And the thing that we also need to remember is that with this setting, it adds more crackle and it compresses it. Let me show you how it sounds like without. Alright, with. Alright, it's very subtle, you know, it's compresses it a little bit more, but the main purpose is to distort it, you know, just to add to that lo-fi crackle effect, you know. And with this one here, stacked another 2 compressors. Let me show you the settings on the threshold. Alright, excuse me. Negative 16 decibels, both compressors, 4 decibels of makeup gain, and you know, fastest attack 100 ms release. Ratio is at 20:1. Let me show you how it sounds like with these two without. Alright, with. Alright, you guys can see the difference. So what this does is it makes it sound a little more consistent, so that you will be able to get down to, or you'll be able to, it won't sink below every other instruments that it's playing with, and it's not gonna sink, or it's not gonna rise above every instrument that it's playing with. You know, this bass right here, our mono setting is at set to 100%, because I believe this was in stereo. Let me listen to it again. Yeah, it was in stereo, so I set the mono, I set the stereo separation to be 100%, you know, merged just in the middle, you know, because it's a bass instrument. All right, moving on. With our lo-fi guitar, gone ahead and grab 3 of these compressors right here, stack them all together. We show you settings. Each one is doing 4 decibels of makeup gain. Threshold is at negative 11 decibels. Alright, 20:1 ratio, 100 ms release, fastest attack, and that's pretty much it, you know. Now, let me show you how it sounds like without this. Alright, purpose of this is to, in fact, let me show you where it's the loudest, you know. It's usually the loudest at over here. Yeah, there it is, you know. Let me show you how it sounds like here, where it shines on its own. Alright, look at those peaks. It's catching all of those peaks, you know, and we're basically evening it out on third compressor. This is the dynamics, or this is the waveform. This is the final waveform on our third compressor. Alright, so in total we're doing 12 decibels of gain reduction, you know. And I don't really mind that kind of sound, because we're mixing lo-fi, you know, so it's okay. So I mean, my advice for you guys is, if you get some kind of distortion from the compressor, let it distort, you know, let it distort. It's okay. You give it some freedom to let it distort, and it's gonna serve you in the entire mix, because it's distorted, you know. And if you guys want to know what this does, is when I mix your music, you'll be able to play around and mute some of these plugins. Alright, so but anyway, let's just move on and go ahead and show you what I have done next. I believe this one here I've gone ahead and grabbed a multi-band compressor. So I haven't shown you guys this plugin. Now I'm gonna show you how I've used it. So I've basically set the threshold to negative 18 decibels, alright? And as you might have noticed already, it says low here. It's because we're compressing the low frequencies alone. Which band? It's from 250 hertz and below. Alright, 250 hertz and below at the Q factor of 24 decibels per octave. Alright, with a release time of 85 ms and the fastest attack time possible. It's the only things that I've messed with. Alright, the purpose of this multi-band compressor is to make sure that your acoustic guitar will have more consistent dynamics on this low end, because if you don't have it, it's not enough if you do it like this, you know, like to me, because I want it to be a little more consistent before it goes through this EQ right here, this high pass filter. Alright, and I didn't want it to have inconsistent low mids to the low end, so I've gone ahead and did this. In fact, let me show you what it's doing on the monitor. So with the makeup gain, I've also set it to 3 decibels. What this does is it makes sure that you have a very consistent low end, even if you're cutting it, you know, by using this multi-band compressor, you know, a mixture of equalizer and a compressor. So let me show you. Alright, without this. Alright, to my ears, to my system, what this sounds like is it's a little bit less consistent, so I wanted to add a little more consistency to this area before it gets to this high pass filter. Alright, so that's the reason for this multi-band compressor. Moving on with our EQ, I've gone ahead and cut 250 hertz at 12 decibels per octave because of the low registers here, and I think it's just way too low. I didn't want the acoustic guitar to be too low, and so I've gone ahead and added this slope. And I also didn't want it to lose the strum, high-end strum, so I gave this an exception of 3 decibels. Alright, if you'll pay attention to this little box right here I've made, at 3 decibels at the Q factor of 0.8 at 4K. Alright, remember we did a cut here on our master bus at 4K, so now what we're doing here is adding a little more, 3 decibels. Alright, so it's only affected by 3 decibels. Alright, let me show you what this does without the EQ. Alright, it's too dark, so I've gone ahead and grabbed this EQ. Alright, I didn't put any makeup gain because I'm pretty happy at where it's sitting, you know, and gone ahead and grabbed a chorus, you know. So let me show you how it sounds like without the chorus. With the chorus. Alright, that's what it is, you know. So basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to get our it produced that cool effect. Let me show you what my settings is. My delay setting is at, I think this is the this functions as, if correct me if I'm wrong, this portion right here, this functions as a sort of timing. It kind of gives your chorus a little more it makes your chorus a little bit late before it produces that chorus effect whenever you strum this acoustic guitar. And then at 0.28 ms, that's when it will produce the effect. Alright, with the depth setting at 0.4 ms, stereo settings at 90 degrees. Pretty much didn't touch these three controls right here. Neither did I touch these three. The only thing left I touched is the crossover cutoff, which is at 8 hertz. Alright, that's pretty much it, you know. And let's move on. Let's go to Arctic Shadows. Let me show you how this sounds like if you guys aren't sure what this is. Alright, that's how it sounds like. So let's see what we have done. We've gone ahead and grabbed in this case, as you may have already known, I use my reverb as a stereo enhancement plugin. This is my preset. Alright, high cutoff, you know, I didn't mess with the high cut or low cut. What I've done is, the purpose is to make it sound like just like the original signal, only with a more stereo spread. All right, I'll show you the comparison between the two. Without, with, all right, it spreads it a little bit. It's a little bit shallow. Actually, no. Actually, even you can just get rid of this. You know, makes little to no difference. So you can just get rid of it. And let's just move on to the EQ. Sorry about that, guys. So what we've done here is set the band token number 6 to 4K, Q factor of 0.9, and the gain level is at 6 decibels. All right, and I wanted this to be an exception on the master bus, that it will not be affected by the master bus, because I still wanted this to have the pad sound. You know, it kind of sounds clear. It kind of offsets everything, or almost everything, to sound a little more lo-fi. So let me show you how it sounds like with actually with the dynamics section here. Set the range to negative 18 decibels, and my threshold is at negative 30.2 decibels. Fastest attack, fastest release, you know. And what this does is it kind of attenuates every high frequency. Let me show you how it works. Alright, makes it more consistent, and even if I've given it a 6 decibel boost, I didn't want those initial hits to be way louder than the rest of the waveform, you know, than the rest of the tail. So that's why I have this setting right here. Alright, moving on. Light and shadow. Let's see, how does it sound like? Alright, what this does is, what I've gone ahead and I've messed with the settings. I made it all the way, all the way spread, 100%. Stereo separation is at 100%. Alright, what I want you all to pay attention is how it sounds like with or without this plugin. So here we go. Alright, it sounds stereo, but with this plugin it spreads it a little more. Alright, there you have it. That's the purpose of this. And these ones are just this one here is just a trim plugin, the volume plugin. So I've added 9 decibels on the volume, and we've grabbed another compressor, actually a compressor, which does 4 decibels of gain reduction, and it also has makeup gain of 4 decibels. Threshold is at -19. Same ratio settings, same attack settings, same release settings. With or without this compressor, let's see from the loudest part. Without. Alright, it makes it sound a little more consistent. So that's why, it's a very subtle compressor. Still wanted to keep its dynamics, but I want it to be a little more glued. Alright, moving on to the last plugin for this track, for this channel right here, at 4K 0.8, Q factor of 0.8, and at 9 decibels. Alright, to offset what we have done here at the master bus. Alright, so in this case, if the master bus is doing -6 decibels, our EQ over here is doing 9 decibels. In total, we've added 3 more decibels at 4K. Alright, at that Q factor. Let me show you how it sounds like without. With. Alright, it opens those high frequencies a little more, albeit it's subtle, but it's okay because we're mixing lo-fi. Alright, moving on. Over here, I've gone ahead and let me see how this sounds like. Alright, that's it. I didn't do anything with this. I just left it alone. Said I'm gonna let you guys know what my gain structure is for each track after I've shown you every plugin. So let's just move on. And over here we've got our first plugin for the fireplace. This is what the fireplace sounds like, by the way. This was recorded with the vocals. This used to be part of this vocal track, so I've gone ahead and cut it, and I've put it as a separate track. Listen to it. That's with the distortion. Now without the distortion. It's got a little bit less of the crackle, so alright, type B mix is at 12%. That's what I've messed with, Compresses it a little more and adds a little bit more crackle to it. That's the purpose of this. Moving on with our limiter. 2 decibels of gain reduction and 2 decibels of makeup gain. So our threshold is at -17.5 decibels. Same ratio, same attack, same release, Makes it easier to mix, and it gives you the desired results still, Let's do it without this compressor. with. Alright, so it's very subtle, brings out those quiet parts, and you know, it lowers down just a little bit those loud parts. So that's the purpose of it. Now we'll move on to our gain structure. This fireplace setting, or this one here, is at 0 decibels. Our effects, our reverse effects, is at 0 decibels. Our light and shadow is at -1 decibel. Arctic shadows is at 0. Guitar is at -6 decibels. Bass is at -2. Our bell is at -7. Bongo is at +5.6. +2 for our splash. For our hi-hat it's 0. For our kick it's at 5.6. And our lo-fi snare 4.2. And 0 for our vocals. Alright? Then let's move on to the gain structure here at our channel rack. Alright, this one here is at default, didn't add much. This one here we've added basically, what is this? 5 decibels. We've added 5 decibels. Our kick is, we didn't add anything. Our hat, we've added 5 decibels. Alright, and I believe this is splash, another 5 decibels. For our bongo, another 5 decibels. And then pretty much anything from our bell, we didn't add bell. Bass, we didn't add anything. Guitar, we didn't add. With our Arctic shadows, we didn't add anything. With our light and shadow, we added 5. FX, we didn't add anything. For our fireplace, we didn't add anything. Alright, that's pretty much it, you know. So pretty much I've covered everything here for this whole music. Alright, so as you may have noticed, I'm sorry if this is way too long, but at least we'll be able to wrap this episode up, and this whole mix right here, and be able to cover up every single thing that we need to know in order to get this mix. Alright, so let me show you how it sounds like without these plugins right here. In fact, let me go ahead and correct that. Alright, without these plugins, let's see, without Alright, that's how it sounds like without plugins. And then now we'll put back the plugins. Alright.
Perfection.
Alright, that's pretty much it, you know. Oh, and by the way, with the hi-hat, I just wanted this to be a little bit more centered, but I didn't mind it to be stereo, so I panned it to the right by, what is that, 11%. Alright, that's pretty much it. Alright, I believe I have covered everything here, and if you have any more questions, you have your comments down below, you know. And if you have any more suggestions on these let me know what you think about this format, you know, like let me know. And if you know somebody who could benefit from this, I need you to share it and let them know about this channel. If you find this channel interesting, subscribe and hit that like for me, you know, do me a favor. And if you didn't like it, hit that dislike button, and also let me know in the comments down below what you didn't like about this, you know. And I'm not going to really fight you on that, but I wanted to make this as best as it is, you know. So that's why I really want your feedbacks, you know. I really value your feedbacks. All right, and if you have any questions, you can leave them down in the comments below. And that's it for this episode or series, for this second episode and series for the mixing my subscribers tutorial. All right, so that's pretty much it. If you guys want your music to be mixed and be posted on YouTube, email me at crossoverproductions5@gmail.com. That's crossoverproductions5@gmail.com. And let me know if you have a SoundCloud profile. Let me know which is it, and I will link it in the description. And whether maybe you have a Spotify, and let me know every possible detail, so that people will find out where to listen to your music, which platform and all of that. And that's pretty much it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subbing to this channel, and thank you so much for giving me the support. And I really appreciate you guys watching these videos and learning from it. And I also appreciate some of you who have shared it, and given it the thumbs up, that maybe it's not the best video out there, but thank you for your help anyways. So I'll see you on the next one, hopefully. And you all know what to do. So take care. God bless. Love you all.